The night she realized she truly had no one was the night the electricity was cut off. The apartment fell into a sudden, suffocating darkness, broken only by the distant glow of streetlights leaking through the thin curtains. Aisha stood still in the silence, phone in her hand, staring at the screen that showed her bank balance, numbers so small they barely felt real. In that moment, the weight of her life pressed down on her chest. No parents to call, no siblings to lean on. Just a quiet room, unpaid bills, and a future that felt terrifyingly empty. Aisha hadn't always been alone. Once, she had dreams that stretched far beyond the cracked walls of that apartment. She had been a bright student, full of determination, raised by a mother who worked herself to exhaustion just to keep food on the table. But life had a cruel way of taking things away one by one. Her mother passed away suddenly during Aisha's final year of university, and with her went the last sense of safety Aisha had ever known. Relatives offered polite condolences, then slowly disappeared. Friends moved on with their own lives. Grief turned into survival, and survival turned into isolation. The only person who never truly left was Sarah, her college friend with an easy laugh and a heart too big for her own good. Sarah tried to help in every way she could, but she had her own struggles, her own limits. Aisha hated feeling like a burden, so she learned to smile and say she was fine, even when she wasn't. Especially when she wasn't. That was how she ended up working 2 jobs, one during the day at a small marketing firm, and another at night in a quiet cafe. She came home exhausted, her feet aching, her mind racing with worries about rent, groceries, and the future. Some nights she cried herself to sleep, not loudly, but silently, as if even her tears didn't deserve space in the world. Sarah often spoke about her older brother, Adam, though Aisha had never met him. He lived in another city, ran successful businesses, and seemed to exist in a completely different universe, one of luxury cars, tailored suits, and opportunities Aisha could only imagine. To her, he was just a name, a distant figure who belonged to Sarah's life, not hers. They finally met by accident. One rainy evening, Aisha finished her shift at the cafe and stepped outside, only to realize she had forgotten her umbrella. The rain soaked her clothes within seconds. As she stood there debating whether to run or wait it out, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down, and Sarah leaned out, smiling brightly. In the driver's seat was a man Aisha recognized instantly, not from photos, but from the quiet confidence in his posture, the calm in his eyes. Adam. Sarah insisted on giving Aisha a ride home. Aisha protested, embarrassed by her worn shoes and damp jacket, but Sarah wouldn't take no for an answer. During the drive, Adam asked polite, simple questions. Where did she work? How long had she known Sarah? His voice was steady, respectful, and surprisingly warm. Aisha answered carefully, not wanting to reveal too much. But Adam noticed things others overlooked. He noticed how Aisha's hands tightened when money came up. How she looked out the window when Sarah joked about family gatherings. How exhaustion lingered behind her polite smile. After that night, Adam seemed to appear more often. Sometimes he picked Sarah up from work when Aisha was around. Sometimes he joined them for coffee. He never pried, never made Aisha feel small. He listened, truly listened, and for the first time in a long while, Aisha felt seen. Still, life didn't magically improve. A few weeks later, Aisha was laid off from her day job when the company downsized. The cafe alone wasn't enough to cover her expenses. She sold small belongings, books, jewelry, anything that might buy her a little more time. Pride kept her silent. Fear kept her awake at night. When Sarah found out, she was furious, not at Aisha, but at the situation. She wanted Aisha to move in with her temporarily, but Aisha refused. She couldn't bear the thought of being dependent on someone else again. She told herself she'd figure it out, like she always did. Adam found out anyway. He didn't confront her immediately. Instead, he invited her and Sarah to dinner. The restaurant was elegant, the kind of place Aisha would never choose for herself. She felt out of place, surrounded by polished surfaces and quiet luxury. Halfway through the meal, Adam spoke gently. You don't have to do everything alone, he said, looking directly at Aisha. The words hit her harder than she expected. She laughed it off, brushing it aside with a joke. But Adam didn't smile. His expression was serious, steady. Strength doesn't mean isolation, he continued. Sometimes it means letting someone stand with you. Something inside Aisha cracked, not completely, but enough for the pain to seep through. She excused herself and went to the restroom, where she stared at her reflection, tears threatening to fall. She hated herself for feeling weak. She hated that kindness felt so unfamiliar it scared her. When she returned, Adam didn't push. He simply said, "If you ever need help, I'm here." A few days later, the eviction notice arrived. Aisha sat on the floor of her apartment, the paper trembling in her hands. 30 days. That was all she had. Panic surged through her, followed by a crushing sense of defeat. She called Sarah, her voice breaking as she explained. Sarah rushed over immediately, holding her as Aisha cried openly for the first time in years. Adam arrived shortly after. He listened as Aisha explained everything: her mother, the jobs, the debt, the loneliness. She expected pity. What she got instead was respect. "I'm not here to rescue you," Adam said quietly. "I'm here to support you, if you'll let me." He offered practical help: a lawyer to negotiate more time, a connection to a stable job opportunity, and a temporary place to stay that wouldn't make her feel like a guest or a charity case. It wasn't about money, it was about dignity. Accepting his help wasn't easy. Every instinct in Aisha screamed to refuse, to endure alone. But she was tired of being strong in silence. So she said yes. The weeks that followed were challenging, but different. With stability came clarity. Aisha started working at a new company where her skills were valued. She slowly paid off her debts. She moved into a small, bright apartment that felt like a fresh start. Through it all, Adam never hovered, never controlled. He simply stood beside her, offering guidance when asked, encouragement when needed. Their relationship deepened naturally, not as a dramatic romance, but as a steady partnership built on trust. Adam admired Aisha's resilience. Aisha respected Adam's integrity. They talked about fears, dreams, and the kind of people they wanted to be. For the first time since her mother's passing, Aisha felt hope, not the fragile kind, but the kind rooted in possibility. One evening, months later, Aisha stood on her balcony, looking out at the city lights. Adam stood beside her, hands resting on the railing. "You know," she said softly, "for a long time, I thought being alone was my fate." Adam turned to her, and now, she smiled, a real smile, warm and confident. "Now I know that even when you have no one, life can surprise you. Sometimes, all it takes is one person choosing to stand with you." Adam nodded. "And sometimes," he said, "that choice changes everything." Aisha's story wasn't about being saved by a millionaire. It was about learning that accepting support isn't weakness. It's courage. It's about understanding that even in your darkest moments, you are not invisible. And when someone stands with you, not above you, not in front of you, but beside you, you can finally stand tall on your own. Because no one is meant to face the world alone. And sometimes, the moment you stop fighting by yourself is the moment your life truly begins.